I'm going to read you something. What I'm about to read you is from the United States Counterterrorism Strategy, released by the White House on May 6th, 2026. A very real document, signed, published, and made official government policy. And I quote, "In addition to cartels and Islamist terror groups, our national counterterrorism activities will also prioritize the rapid identification and neutralization of violent secular political groups whose ideology is anti-American, radically pro-transgender, and anarchist. We will use all the tools constitutionally available to us to map them at home, identify their membership, map their ties to international organizations like Antifa, and use law enforcement tools to cripple them operationally before they can maim or kill the innocent." The document closes with a personal message from the sitting President of the United States. "We will find you and we will kill you." Let that sink in for a second. My name's Nate. I'm a veteran. I served this country proudly during the global war on terror, and I am anti-fascist, and I support transgendered people's right to exist. And according to the document that I just read, the document signed by the President of the United States, that makes me part of a priority counterterrorism target. In the same document as cartels and ISIS. Welcome to another Side Quest Sunday. This one, well, it just couldn't wait. And hey, if you're watching over on YouTube, welcome to the lobby. Be sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss a drop. Brand new episodes every Monday and Thursday. Side Quest Sundays, when they need to happen. Now, let's get into it. Let me be crystal clear about what we're dealing with. This is not a tweet, it's not a campaign speech, and it's not a talking point from a pundit. The United States Counterterrorism Strategy is an official government policy document released by the White House. It signals to every federal agency, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and Homeland Security, where their priorities are, what they're supposed to be looking for, and who they're supposed to be watching. When something is in this document, funding follows it, surveillance follows it, prosecutorial attention follows it. This is not rhetoric. This is a targeting document, and it lists 3 priority threat categories. 1. Narcoterrorists and transnational gangs. 2. Legacy Islamist terrorists. 3. Violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists, anti-fascists, and groups with what the document calls radically pro-transgender ideology. That's the official threat hierarchy of the United States government. In May of this year, cartels, ISIS, and anyone who supports transgendered people. Now, I want to be fair here because that's what I try to do with this show. The administration's argument is that the document targets violent groups, not ideology, just violence. Sebastian Gorka, the White House counterterrorism advisor who helped write this document, has said explicitly, "Our counterterrorism powers will not be used to target our fellow Americans who simply disagree with us." That's the counterargument, and I wanted you to hear it. Now, here are the receipts. Receipt 1. The word radically is left undefined. The document says radically pro-transgender, not pro-transgender people who commit violence, not pro-transgender extremists with documented threat histories, just radically pro-transgender. The word radically appears in the document. The word radically is not defined in the document, which means the agencies implementing the strategy, well, they get to decide what radically means. That is not a small detail. That is how broad surveillance authority gets constructed. You define the category loosely, You leave the edges undefined, and the agencies get to fill in the edges however they need to. Receipt 2. The data. The Center for Strategic and International Studies has tracked extremist incidents in America for over a decade. Their data, bipartisan and documented, attributes 152 attacks and 112 deaths to right-wing extremists, against 35 attacks and 13 deaths attributed to left-wing extremists. Right-wing, 152 attacks, 112 deaths. Left-wing, 35 attacks, 13 deaths. The 2026 Counterterrorism strategy lists left-wing extremists as a top 3 priority. It does not name right-wing extremism as a priority threat category at all. A counterterrorism strategy is supposed to follow the threat. This one does not follow the threat data. Receipt 3. The specific justification and the fact checks. Now I need to address something very specific, because the document doesn't just list radically pro-transgender groups as a threat without providing a reason. It provides a reason. The document specifically references the assassination of Charlie Kirk as an example of violence committed by someone who, and I'm quoting directly, espoused extreme transgender ideologies. That's the justification. That's why this specific language is in this specific document. And I want to be honest and fair about this. Charlie Kirk was a real person. His assassination was a real tragedy. A human being lost their life, and that matters. And the claim that his assassination represents a pattern of transgender-linked political violence deserves the same honest examination that I try to apply to everything else on this show. So here are the receipts. The Associated Press fact-checked the claim that there has been an incredible rise in transgender shooters. Their findings? Completely untrue. Snopes examined whether mass shooters are disproportionately transgender. Their findings? False. Reuters fact-checked the same exact claim. Their finding? The majority of U.S. mass shooters are cisgendered men, not transgender and not non-binary. The Trans Journalists Association reviewed the coverage of the Charlie Kirk assassination and found that at least 43 outlets shared anti-trans misinformation in the direct aftermath. The document uses one incident, just one, to justify a counterterrorism priority that applies to an entire community of people. That's not a threat assessment. That's a political argument dressed up in national security language. And the nonpartisan Washington Institute, let me remind you, they are not a left-wing organization, has described the strategy as disconnected from the actual terrorist landscape. Receipt 4. What's missing? Patriot Front, a documented neo-Nazi organization, marched through American cities in 2025 and 2026, including one group 15 minutes down the road from my house. The Proud Boys, a documented extremist organization whose members were convicted of seditious conspiracy for January 6th. They are not in this document. The Oath Keepers, same story. The data says right-wing extremism kills more Americans. The document doesn't mention it. The asymmetry is not an accident. A counterterrorism strategy reflects priorities, and the priorities in this document reflect something other than the threat data. I want to tell you all something about being anti-fascist. Anti-fascist means you are against fascism. That's the entire ideology. It's not an organization. It does not have a membership card. It does not have a headquarters. It does not have a leadership structure. The FBI themselves has described Antifa as decentralized and lacking formal leadership. It is a position. the position that fascism is bad and worth opposing. My grandfather, my dad's dad, fought the literal Nazis in World War II. He was anti-fascist. I am anti-fascist. I hold that position because of what my family knows about what happens when fascism goes unopposed. I held it while wearing the uniform of this country. I held it while I deployed during the global war on terror. I hold it now. The outside may have changed. I'm covered head to toe in tattoos and my hair goes down my back. But inside, I'm still that soldier who swore an oath to defend this country. And I took that oath seriously. And I still do. And I was raised to defend people who were bullied. You see, I don't like bullies. My wife and I know people who are transgender, and we care about them, we love them, and we don't want them afraid. Trans people at the end of the day are just people. Now, I can't pretend to fully understand what they go through every single day, and I would never assume. But I can tell you what I do know. When your government puts your identity in a terrorism document, when it labels who you are as a threat, people get scared. And scared people sometimes make the most permanent decision possible. So let me ask you this. How many suicides does a document just like this one cause? How many people already struggling, already fighting just to live authentically, read something like this and decide there's no room for them? It's questions like that that I just can't shake. And I want to be clear about something. I do not seek violence on anyone. I have never sought violence on anyone. I believe in peaceful opposition, in speaking out, in showing up, in using every constitutional tool available. The same exact tools the document claims to protect, to say, this is wrong. And the administration's document just put my position in the same targeting category as cartels and ISIS. I am a proud veteran. I served this country. I deployed under a government that used the same broad terrorism framing to justify decisions that history has not been kind to. I know what this language does because I've seen it used before. And I am telling you, as someone who was inside the machine, this language is deliberately not precise. This language is not about violence. This language is a net cast wide with the edges left undefined, and they're telling you who they're planning to catch. Here's what I think is actually happening, and I want to be honest that this is my read based on the receipts, not a certainty, but a conclusion that I'm willing to defend. Fear is the entire point. You don't need to actually prosecute every anti-fascist or every trans ally as a terrorist. You just need the label to exist, because the label does all the work. Trans people see their ideology listed in a terrorism document, their allies see it, their families see it, and some of them go quiet. Because quiet feels safer than loud, because complacency feels safer than visibility. Because when your government puts your name, and not your literal name, but your position, your identity, your community, in a terrorism document, the instinct is to shrink. That's what the document is for. Not mass prosecution, but mass silence. And I want to name that because I think it's very important to understand what you're dealing with before you decide how to respond to it. Edward Bernays wrote in 1928 about the engineering of consent, about the specific ways you manufacture compliance in a population. And fear is one of the most effective tools. You don't need everyone to be afraid. You just need enough people to decide that speaking out costs way more than staying quiet. And then the ones who remain quiet become the majority by default. That's the entire play. So don't let them run it. And this is what I'm asking. not to be angry. Anger without direction does not build anything. Not to be violent, never that. The data shows which side commits more violence. So don't hand them ammunition. Don't become what they're calling you. Here's what I'm asking. Hold your trans loved ones closer. Tell them you see them. Tell them you're not going anywhere. Tell them that a document written by people who want them afraid does not define their worth or their place in this country or in your life. Speak out peacefully, clearly, and on the record. Don't let fear produce complacency. Don't let them make you something that you're not. And don't let them write the story of who you are. And if you're in the trans community, if you're listening to this right now and you're scared, I want to say something directly to you. You have a place here with this show and with this community. We may not live near each other. We may never meet, but you will always have an ear and you will always matter. And you are not alone. You are not a terrorist. Believing you deserve to exist is not terrorism. Living authentically is not terrorism. Being who you are is not terrorism. The receipts say so. The data says so. The history of every country that has used this language this way says so. And a veteran from South Central Kentucky whose grandfather fought the actual Nazis says so. They want you afraid. The most radical thing you can do right now is refuse. I'm still here, standing between you and them. That's the oath I took, and I still mean it. And that's going to do it for this SideQuest Sunday. That document is very real, and I'll have it linked in the show notes. Go read it for yourself, and then form your own conclusions. The CSIS data will also be linked. The threat asymmetry is documented, and all of it will be in the notes. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out. The Trevor Project, specifically for LGBTQ plus youth, is available at thetrevorproject.org or by calling 1-866-488-7386. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available by calling or texting 988. Before I get out of here, if you're on YouTube, be sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and smash that bell. And if you're over on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen, follow the show, and then leave a rating, drop a review. Word of mouth is exactly how independent podcasts survive, and every single one matters. Then if you've got the time, come find us over in the lobby. That's the Average Joe Nerdcast private Facebook group. I'll drop the link to the group in the show notes, or you can head straight over to Facebook and in the search bar, just type Average Joe Nerdcast the lobby, and you will find the page. If you're trans and you're scared, please come find us there. I promise you have a place in this community. Real quick shout out to my player 2, who talked me through this one and reminded me that the right response to fear is never silence. You're the reason any of this happens. I've been Nate. And remember, they want you afraid. Refuse. Stay gold, nerd bold. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Game over.